Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to have you here. For those of you who might not be familiar with NELIP, we're the leading organization dedicated to advancing creatives across film, television, and digital media. We are a membership organization, and we hope that you are already a member or to become one soon. Welcome to the family and welcome to Office Hours. This space is designed to give you direct access to industry experts every 2 weeks via Zoom. These sessions are based on questions that you ask and the topics that matter the most to you right now. Members can also access one-on-one office hours with our team weekly, so don't forget to sign in. And tonight, our topic is From Indie to Impact, how the film You, Me, and Her hit 250 screens with Selina Ringel. Selina, she's an award-winning Mexican-American filmmaker, writer, producer, and actress, known for her compelling and storytelling and unique perspective in the independent film world. Her recent feature film, You, Me, and Her, has received widespread acclaim, winning 50 awards, including Best Picture at the Mexican American Film and Television Awards. Released in 250 theaters nationwide on Valentine's Day, Yumi and Her was also an alpha test for 15th Group innovative new platform Attend, which is reshaping theatrical distribution. In addition to her work behind the camera, Celine is the author of the best-selling book, Be the Train, the mindset and tools you need to make your first feature film. This is a #1 Amazon bestseller. Selina's impact is further extended through her comedy special Two Moms, One Mic on Amazon Prime, the internationally unrecognized film The Best People, distributed by Samuel Goldwyn Film, and Single Mother by Choice, which also documents her real-life pregnancy journey during COVID-19, premiered on HBO Max. So I'm very excited for today's conversation. And please make sure to use our chat. We're open to questions and comments. So I will try to get as many questions and comments possible. I'm very, very excited. And well, let's enjoy the next 35 minutes that we have with Selina Ringel. So welcome, Selina.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Hi, hola, Diana.
Hola, yeah, very happy to have everyone here. And I was so looking forward to this conversation. And with all the things that that you've been doing all this past year, I'm very happy witnessing the growth and the success of this incredible project, You, Me, and Her. And this is how I want to begin the conversation because I know you are a writer, a filmmaker, that you are into these narratives. And but tell us a little bit about your journey and how then You, Me, and Her became reality.
Yeah, well, we're independent filmmakers.
Mhm.
We had made two films that you mentioned before this one. And the last one had sold to HBO Max. And then with this one, we had made the movie. We obviously it was very helpful that we had sold the last one to HBO to make this one. And then when we finished making this one, we had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. We had won 15 awards, and we started kind of talking to people about selling the movie. And the offers that were on the table were not great. And we really didn't want to take a bad offer. And it was also a little bit like post strikes. And so my husband, who's actually the director of the movie, came up with this plan that we were going to go theatrically and we were going to build like a bigger presence and we were going to partner with brands and we were going to partner with influencers. And he had all these big ideas. It was very scary because I was like, how are we going to do all of this? But how it ended up happening, which is really crazy. And I actually have a whole chapter about it in my book, Be the Train, is through a cold message on LinkedIn. So I have a whole chapter on cold emails, but basically he messaged the ex-president of the National Association of Theater Owners, who at the time had just left that company to start his own platform called Attend, which is going to help revolutionize the theatrical experience by helping independent filmmakers get into more theaters. So they were in the process of building this, and Dan sends him this like cold message on LinkedIn to connect with him because he was really excited about what he was building. And we ended up having this phone call with him. And I mean, it was probably a back and forth that lasted like 7 months. So persistence is important, and figuring out kind of like when to follow up and all these things. But long story short, they watched our movie. And they loved the movie, but they were kind of like, we're still working on what we're building. We have like a time frame for how we're building what we're building. So just kind of like keep in touch. So we kept in touch. And ultimately, the way it happened was actually over lunch one day. We were catching up with them, and we had already started building all the stuff I was talking about. So we had already started raising some money for marketing. We had already partnered with a couple of brands. We had started doing like eventizing for a couple of screenings. And so we had a little bit of like a deck and a vision for what we were trying to do. And we had this lunch with them where we heard where they were at in their journey. And basically I pitched them in this lunch like, hey, what if you guys had an alpha test before your beta test, and you did it with our movie. And we figured out, because I said, I'm sure there's a lot of kinks and there's a lot of things that need to be figured out in the process of building this. So what if you use our movie as a way to figure all those things out? We can do it together. And I was like, we're going to work harder than anyone we have a plan. We're already in motion with our plan. And I was like, and if you guys get into motion right now, then other people will jump onto what you're doing because you'll already be in motion with this theatrical. Um,
Mhm.
and and I also said, because they have all of these really big filmmakers that are supporting this initiative. So they have like Sean Baker and Patty Jenkins and Damien Giselle and Steven Soderbergh, like really big people that have come in to support what they're building. And so his question was kind of like, well, why would I choose you guys when I'm talking to all these really big filmmakers? And I said, well, because ultimately, if this works, it'll be because people really care about independent cinema. And also on top of that, we're willing to take the risk of whatever this experiment looks like. And I don't think someone who is, Sean Baker is willing to take that risk. So test it out with us.
Evangelos.
And then they said, okay. And that was it. And they became our
Um,
business partners. And we went to 250 theaters nationwide.
that's insane. And I think like there's more about this because as an independent filmmaker, you might think this is like a lucky moment they responded to my email, but I don't see it that way. I actually see it that there is so much thought into the what now and how do you strategize into that process, because again, we could all think, oh yes, it was just about your lucky day, the lucky call,
Yeah.
but how do you actually plan for this opportunity? I will say, because I think there is like the good luck, but then yeah, indeed, how do you plan for this good lucky moment of getting an email response and all of a sudden getting into this alpha plan? And so,
Yeah, well, I think so much of it, and then again, and this is a big
mhm,
part of my book, but I really believe this. It's like you have to already be in motion. You have to be the opportunity, right? So it's like, how do you create momentum for yourself so that when you do send an email and someone goes, "Oh, okay, let's talk," you're already in motion. You already have a plan. You already know where you're going, right? Like had they jumped on a call with us and we didn't know what we were going to do next, there is no way we would have had another call. That would have been the end. Do you know what
Mm.
I mean? It was like every step of the process was us showing up being like, look what we've done since the last time we spoke. Look what we've done now. Look what we can build. Look what we're trying to build beyond this. And so I think that made them feel like, oh my God, these are very persistent, relentless people who are going to make something happen if we give them the opportunity. And so I think in that way, you have to think almost in this, like, how am I an opportunity for someone else? Like, how do I become the opportunity, and how do I build on my own in a way where every time I am fortunate enough to get the call or to get the email back, I'm already in motion so that it feels like, oh my God, well, I want to be part of what she's doing or he's doing.
And also we see that like when people is pitching or you have this project, that how do you then show that you are that opportunity? I think that's something that might come from, I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know if it's into that. How do you believe in this product? Like, how do you manage that? Because I think it's very, very interesting into how you became that opportunity for them instead of saying, oh, please help me out
Yeah.
approach.
Well, I think it's two things. I think one, I think it's super important to listen to what other people are looking for. And so that's the other thing, that like when we went into that lunch, I was so clear. Like I remember telling my husband, like, we're walking into this lunch. We don't have like, we want to work with these people. But we don't have an exact plan because we don't know exactly where they are at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first half of the lunch to just listen. And I
Mm-hmm.
really asked a lot of questions, like, where are you guys at? Like, how's the fundraising going? Like, what are you intending to do? What do you want your first film to be? Why do you want that? Why are you building this? Why does this matter to you? So it's like, by the time they were kind of done telling me everything they had envisioned, it was like, it was like inside of me, I was like, I know what the perfect pitch is to present why we would be right to do this in this different way, because I feel like I have a really good sense for what they're looking for and how I can pitch that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that sometimes, or at least for myself when I first started, there was this eagerness to pitch myself, right? And so it's like, and it's, you can't help yourself. You're excited. So you're like, let me tell you about me, and you can just like go on for 30 minutes. But to think that um that might not be the right pitch for that person. That might not be the right opportunity for that person. And so I think a lot of what I've learned in the last, 15 years is to really listen to what other people are looking for. And so that I'm not wasting people's time and I'm going, oh, okay, I see you just do TV. Got it. So I'm not even going to mention the 5 features that I'm trying, because I'm not trying to waste anyone's time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, how do I introduce myself in a way that would feel like a good fit, that would feel like a collaboration, that it would feel like this would be a good opportunity for you too, you know?
Yeah, and I feel that it also goes along with the approach that you had, and I think this is something for all producers to think about the marketing aspect of a film and how do you integrate it, all these brands within the theme of the movie and again into seeing what is the value for a brand to be connected to you. I think that that's something that I would love to chat about.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, and I mean, and it's funny, so we actually just we just did this like documentary like case study on how we did everything, because we did a whole marketing campaign and we partnered with
Mhm.
20 brands, and it was so much work. Like it is like, and I say this all the time, it's like it's so much work, but everything's so much work anyway. So just like do the work, you know what I'm saying? Like, but with the brands, I feel like the biggest thing that I would say that I learned is how to position myself for why I add value to
Mhm.
someone else, right? Whether it's a brand or whether it's an influencer or whatever, but also how do I leverage one thing to get the next thing? And so like when we first started this journey, we started pretty small. It was like we had mezcal brand,
Mhm.
right? Who basically what we pitched to them was we were going to eventize kind of experiences, and we would have their mezcal, and we would make sure that their mezcal was highlighted at every experience. And that the movie's a very fun movie. It takes place in Mexico. It's the kind of movie that makes you want to drink a mezcal, you know. And so it was like, and we were like, we'll provide photos, we'll provide video, we'll give it to you guys for your socials, we'll, you know, and it'll be kind of like a win-win, because people will associate the fun of the event with your mezcal. But then we got this incredible video out of that. And then we were able to use that when we were talking to the Fithian group. And then we were able to leverage that to talk to other brands. And then from there, once we were able to actually say we could go to 250 theaters, then all of a sudden we were able to leverage other brands. And then it's like at some point, I mean, Lint Chocolate was one of our brand partners. Glam Squad was one of our brand partners. The W Hotel in Punta Mita was one of our brand partners. And we actually gave away 5 trips to Mexico. We partnered with the Tourism Board of Nayarit. We partnered with 3 hotels near where we shot the movie. And again, this was all very difficult stuff. And it is. That's the question everyone asks. It's like, well, what's the value? Like, why would I give you 2 nights at my hotel to give away? Like, how does that make sense for me? And it was like, we'd have to like really break it down and be like, well, we're going to market you and everything that we do in the press. We're going to, you know, put your name in the, for the tourism board of Nayarit, we actually gave them a credit in the movie. Like, we're going to make sure that people are aware of where we shot the movie. We're going to, you know, shout you out and everything. And so you have to have a plan. And obviously that takes, you know.
Did you think about this marketing strategy before or while you were writing the movie, or after the fact, after you saw the result?
No, no, totally after the fact. And here's what I will say. The next time I do it, I'll do it before, as I'm writing the movie. I think that the future, in my mind, at least for the independent space, is really thinking about your marketing like from the real beginning. Like, if I could do it again, I would have a marketing producer whose sole job is to think about our audience, the marketing from the get-go. I would have a person who's interviewing people on set. Like, there's so many moments on set where people are just sitting on a couch doing nothing. Like, those people should be getting interviews. Like, we should be having podcasts. We should be doing BTS. We should be throwing that on social media. We should be tapping into our audience already so that people join you on the journey, you know, before the movie even gets released, because then they're invested by the time the movie comes out. We had to do everything in the aftermath, but I would do it differently next time.
And I see this also that the movie became like a 360 experience that I think right nowadays it's very needed. That it just is not about like being an spectator at a movie and you leave,
Yeah.
but instead that there is a whole experience about the theme, that it comes not only through an in-person event, but through social media and so forth. Like, and how were you building that along the way? Because it's after the fact. How do you start on that role? And then how do you then connect it with this big success about distribution?
Yeah, so I think, well, what's so crazy is that my husband, who directed the movie, Dan, came up with this plan
Mhm,
before we reached out to the Fithian group. And
mhm,
so again, like talking about coming in, being the opportunity, like he already had this deck and he had a vision for what we were going to do. And one of the things we've been talking about a lot is like, as an independent film, how do you get anybody to care? Like, it's so hard unless you win Sundance. And like, even then, by the way, I have friends who have won Sundance and have had a hard time getting distribution. Like, so there's
mhm,
no guarantees no matter what. But I think that um, being like, okay, how do we shake things up? How do we think outside the box? How do we get people excited about a smaller movie? And so Dan had kind of written out all of these ideas, and then we presented it to them, but we were already kind of in motion trying to make them happen. And then we used everything to kind of leverage everything else. And then it almost like the momentum built on each other. Do you know what I mean? It was like, once the train was going, it was like people were like, "Oh, that's actually really fun. Oh my God, you have those people. Oh my God, you are doing this. Oh my God, you have a, oh my God, yes, I want, you know." And I think that's a big part of um how anything in like the indie space happens is like people get excited to jump on the train and be a part of the journey because it feels like it's going to be exciting. And then we wanted everything to go back to our theme and to what our movie was. And we hit it from a lot of different places. Like we have really crazy stuff. We did a Fandango promotion. Our movie's like lightly based on a threesome. And so our promotion was buy two tickets, get one free, bring your third with Fandango. Then we did a therapy session. This was really crazy. Me and my husband did like the most intense, vulnerable therapy session with this company called The Skin Deep. Did you see it?
Oh my goodness, I miss on that one.
When you see it, you're gonna text me and be like, "Are you and your husband okay?"
Are
We're
you
okay, but we basically they do these like very intense like conversations that are connection cards that are supposed to get relationships to connect deeper. And they were one of our brand partners. And then we had this opportunity present itself where they were like, we really love what you guys are doing with your movie. Our whole thing is connection. We actually do these very intense experiences. We're not sure if you guys want to do it or not, but basically you would be on camera talking about like your most personal, vulnerable problems in your relationship. And we were like, let's do it.
Oh, good.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
you were willing to explore the unexplored, and I think that's something that really reflected into then the success that it's been having the movie. But also tell us about, so yes, you are the alpha test and so forth. And what was the feedback that you were getting from the 15 group, and then and what is next with them?
Yeah, so the you mean the feedback from the theaters? Or you mean the feedback from them in terms of the campaign, or what do you mean?
Yeah, well, I will both, actually both. Now that you're talking about that, well, first from the theaters, that will be.
Yeah. So theatrically, we had a 3-week run, which
Mhm.
is pretty good. I'll say it in this group because I feel like it's a small group, but the movie was a $500,000 movie. So that's a very small movie for 250 theaters. Uh,
Mhm.
Theatrically, we did well, not how we hoped, is the truth. But it did help us land all these other deals, which ultimately are the bigger picture. So like we are on American Airlines on every international and domestic flight. We're on Qantas. We're going to be on Stars. We just are signing a deal with them. So all of that kind of happened from all of this. And again, like the movie didn't not perform. It did well. We were there for 3 weeks. It's just that I think in our head, considering the amount of like time and energy and money that was put into the campaign, we were like, we're gonna make millions of dollars. And that didn't happen. But at the same time, I will also say, we came out the same day as Captain America.
Mhm.
Um, and it was a huge learning experience. Like, we thought, oh, it doesn't matter because we're a completely different movie. So we'll just have a completely different audience. And then it actually does kind of matter because when you're up against like a monster machine in the marketing space, it's like harder to, certain things get kind of like eaten up by their marketing machine. But,
So
but
maybe the results weren't there, but then what about? I mean, but yeah, but the consequence of then is what brings the real return, like the results.
exactly. Exactly. And the other thing I will say is that the Fithian group said they have, because they worked with theaters for the last 30 years when they were at the National Association of Theater Owners. They said our campaign was a multi-million dollar campaign. Like what they saw us like do and what we were able to accomplish, they were blown away that it was even possible on the budget that we did it with. Like they couldn't believe that that's accessible to people because most people don't try to do it at that budget level, but they were just kind of like, this is the campaigns that we see for really much, much bigger films. And people that I don't even know, like, will send me like a DM or a message or be like, I just saw the movie on American Airlines, or I heard about it through this person, or I saw it on the billboard in Times Square, or, so it was like, I think the impact was there, and then the sales were there, and people showed up. It's just, we wanted more people to show up. Always.
We want more.
Yeah.
And well, I have in my hand,
Yay.
and it's it's a book that I think every filmmaker should have, because even might be things that you may know or that you may think about, but once you read them, then become very clear as an action plan, which might not be your usual action plan as a producer, but those are things that you just need to have, concepts that you need to have in hand. Because I think that as you go, through these careers, you're on this fast pace into like, let's produce and now and the budget, and you're very concerned about the creative aspect and meeting budget and raising the funds. And then you forget about all the other elements that should be included that you might be missing out, even if you know about them. So tell me, Selena, like, first, when did you find the time to write a book? Because as you were going through this incredible journey, you took the time. So first, yeah, resolve that question because I'm really curious. When?
Well, I haven't slept in months. No. Well, so I wrote the book right before we launched the campaign. So we actually I woke up from 4 to 6 in the morning every day to write this book for like 2 months.
Yikes.
And I mean, I had all of this in me, and I had been wanting to write a book for a very long time. And it's actually my husband. So my husband's like the real pusher of all impossible things, but then I'm the one who like makes them happen. But he was like, I was talking about my book, and he was like, you need to write it now. And I was like, what do you mean now?
Like, yeah.
And he was like, it needs to be now. He was like, because the book needs to come out when the movie comes out, because it's, all this stuff we're doing and everything we're learning is so valuable. And it'll be so valuable to other people if we could be transparent and kind of show them everything as we're learning it in real time. And so, yeah, so that's how I did
Uh,
it. I was delirious.
and from so in the way that you follow throughout the chapters, like, was this what you were experiencing while creating the movie? Did you take all the experiences that you also have from your prior movies? Like,
Yeah, so I've taken it from everything, because I think that there's so many things that I've learned in the last 15 years, and so I wanted to put it all in there. And I also really want to empower people. Like, I think for myself, I went to AFI. I did my master's there, and they teach you how to make a movie. But I remember my thesis, we had 100 people in the crew. And I think that happens a lot in film school, right? Is like, because everybody has to help each other. What you realize when you walk out into the real world is like 100-person crew is a huge movie, And so then, like, the rest of your career, you're just building back up to your 100-person crew from your thesis.
yeah.
But I graduated, and I remember we had this movie we really wanted to make that was like a feature that was like, an accompaniment to our thesis, and we were trying to raise $1 million. And for like a whole year, I was trying to get $1 million. And I just kept hitting this wall. People would be like, well, why would I give you $1 million if you haven't already made a movie and made money back on that movie? And
Mhm.
so what I realized, and a big part of what this book is too, is like, I think we have to empower ourselves to get more creative about how we make things, because um, we don't need $1 million. And that doesn't mean that I won't happily make my $1 million movie, but I, if I had just waited for that $1 million, I don't know how many years I would have waited. And I've now made 3 feature films, and I've sold all 3 of them. And I feel like, the amount that I've learned and the amount that I've grown as a filmmaker, as a writer, in all these ways by creating has been incredible. And I just feel like it's important to kind of start your own train. And maybe it's not a feature for you. Maybe it's making a short first, or maybe it's whatever it is. But I just think like getting into your own creative space and getting into motion is actually really important.
Getting into motion. And I have a question here from our chat from Cliff. He said, like, great chat, of course.
Ah,
I really love your energy and entrepreneurial drive. Quick question. Who handle all your distribution deals, airlines, international, etc.? Were you making those calls yourself or did you bring a distribution partner?
no, we did everything ourselves.
Because she has the time.
Uh,
And then I think
no,
the key word is
you want to hear something really crazy. So
mhm,
because with this movie, even though we wore the alpha test for the whole platform,
mhm,
they are not our distributors. We
right.
are our own distributors. So we are still collecting checks from theaters, 250 theaters. So, like, I have to literally go through a list. I have to cash checks. I have to highlight the people that have paid me. I have to underline the people who haven't paid me. I have to email them. I mean, it's like that's its own full-time job. You know what I mean? But at
Mhm.
the same time, um, there's also something, I mean, you know, I will be very happy when I have a huge distributor and they do everything for me and it feels really good. But there is something about having control and knowing where things are going and what is actually happening, because I feel like there's a lot of distributors right now, especially for small films, that don't do anything. And I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like there are really good ones, and then there are ones who take 30% of everything and they don't really place you anywhere, and they don't really put any marketing money, and they don't. And so things have been shifting a lot. And so I think it's like about really assessing, like, for this 30%, what exactly are you going to do for me? And I think it's like if it's not an 824 or whatever, it's like you have to really have a serious conversation about what the distributor is doing. And some distributors do a really great job and some don't. And for us, I think we felt like yeah, we're willing to take on this really big job to make sure that that when things are getting done right.
And I think that's this is an incredible case study, if anything, because how different it is the approach and how proactive it is as well. Because again, like going to film school, great, going into the field and trying to raise the money and trying to go to the expected path might not be the answer nowadays,
Yeah.
right? Because now you have the tools, you have other things available to you, and the expectation as well. I think that's something that it really throws everything off when they watch your movie, when they understand like how the process was. As yes, you were making the calls, you were on the marketing process, and so forth. And my question now to you is, as you were involved in being this hyphenate of different things like and made it happen, what would be your approach for your next feature? What would change and how would you then either take all these learnings and applying them in a different way? Would you then again trying to go to a different path? What are your
Yeah.
expectations for the next feature?
Yeah. So, well, the first thing I would do differently, like I said, is um I would start the marketing journey a lot sooner. I actually think that marketing is such a big piece, and at least for me, it's a piece that I did not learn so much about in film school. Like I was told that I just make the movie, someone else will come and buy it and they will market it and they will sell it and they will make me money, and all I have to do is make a good movie.
Mm,
And so and by the way, that can happen, but that's not what's happening for everyone. I have two friends of mine right now who just got into South by Southwest, right?
mhm,
And one of them, they're both incredible filmmakers and they
Mhm.
both made amazing films. And one of them made a much bigger film and she has really great reps. And she ended up winning South by and she got a lot of press and it was incredible. And then another friend who had a smaller film, who also made an incredible film, had like a really hard time getting anybody to talk about her movie. And she's having a really hard time with selling it. And I'm not saying that to be, it's just interesting to me because I remember in my head when I graduated thinking that's the goal, right? You make a really great movie, you get into a big festival, and then someone's going to come in and like resolve the next part. And I think that the world is changing so much that that's not how it goes anymore. But I also don't think that has to be a bad thing. I think it can be empowering for us to be like, okay, how do we get creative and take on the role of thinking about our own marketing and thinking about our own audience and thinking about what our movie really is. Like, who's our movie speaking to? Right. And I think that's a big part of it too. Like I know there's a lot of films that are speaking specifically to certain communities or that are, speaking specifically in a way that certain organizations might really get behind that and go, oh my God, this has got to be a movie that every woman sees or that do you know what I mean? And I think like really tapping into your niche and understanding like why you're saying what you're saying and why you care so much to say it from the get-go so that you're building everything around that and then finding your audience within that as you're doing it, I think is like almost as important as
Mhm.
the movie you make because the reality is the movie's subjective, right? Some people are going to love it and some people are not, no matter what movie you make. But the amount of people who care about the movie you make is
Mhm.
going to affect how you sell the movie, where the movie gets seen, like how many eyeballs on you know what I'm saying? And I think that's such a big piece right now. Uh,
Yeah. And so for instance, like you were able to, and again, this goes with the creative process and then having again that business mindset. I think that's very, very important and finding that good balance between the two. So you have a story, and for those that haven't watched it now, go watch it.
yes, you,
Um,
me, and her, and it's
you,
out.
me, yes, you, me, and her.
Yes.
And something that I find it also very interesting is into you come up with this concept. I mean, and I love it, and I think it's really fun about the threesome, right? And you're like, oh my God, this kind of topic. But here's the thing: you found your niche, and it was very clear into what would be the audience.
Yeah.
I think that's super clear. Do you think that the way that you went into understanding your audience, understanding what could have been those folks that will join the train and be part of the train, because it was clear it was a very fun, nice movie to watch, like very like couple oriented, edgy, but not that bad, like it was just this movie that it was very, very clear into what was about to be worked with. Do you think that it could be applicable to any other movie, that you could understand in so much depth the concept of it and how to market it?
I think yes. And I think the reason is because, and again, by the way, even our movie that, because like you said, right, it's fun and threesome and blah, blah. But then I also feel like it's actually about how hard a long-term commitment is. And it's about how hard marriage is. And it's about reconnecting. And it's about how to stay curious about each other. And I think that when you jump into making a movie of any kind, I would assume some part of you is jumping in because you really resonate with what the movie is or what the movie's trying to say. And
Mhm.
so any movie that has something that it's trying to say that matters to you
Mhm.
has a clear audience because you are the audience, right? Like if you care, other people care. And so I think the questions to ask yourself is, why do I care?
Right.
What about this makes me need to be a part of this? Why? Like, why do I need to tell this story? Why do people need to see it? And there's so many different reasons why, and I think that being able to um I think any movie can be broken down into that why, and also from there figure out like what's the best way to find your audience, because there's an audience for everything.
Absolutely. I have another question in the chat, and I have comments on our regular chat. I'll take a look. Um, and this is an interesting question. Do you think that the same rules apply to TV series? And in this particular, I think we go back into the pitching aspect of a project
Yeah.
to apply it to TV series.
So I would say probably not, because so part of what's hard, and again, nothing that's when I say hard, I don't think hard is bad. So like I think a lot of times we hear hard and we go, "Oh no, bad." It's not bad. Everything's hard, but like it's it's it doesn't have to be, it could be exciting, it could be a challenge, it could be, but the point is though that my belief is TV has a lot more people you have to get through, right,
Mhm.
to make something happen, which, by the way, is very similar to a bigger movie. So if you're making a bigger movie with a bigger budget, with a big studio, which I have had a lot of friends who have gone through that process, there are just more cooks. There's more cooks in the kitchen. And so that doesn't have to be bad, because sometimes the cooks are really smart and they have really good advice and they really know what they want. And then also sometimes it can be really frustrating because there's five cooks and they all want different things and they all have a different vision for how the project should be. And so I think like navigating those cooks almost becomes like a big part of your job if you're in TV or if you're doing like a much bigger production movie. Um, and so in that sense, it's a little bit harder to kind of like self-start a lot, because you don't want to self-start in a way that isn't actually what they want. Do you know what I'm saying? Because people have very specific things that they want, um based on the based on the project. Dan, honey, sorry, could you bring me my charger? The computer. Sorry.
It'll be done. Uh-huh.
So I feel like it is different. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way, that you can't be the train if you have your own, if you're trying to pitch your own TV show. I think it just looks different. So what it looks like is you still need to have your pitch deck. You still need to have some visuals for what you're trying to do. You could still probably shoot like a proof of concept for what the tone of the show would be. You could still think about what would be some great brand partners for the TV show. Like, I'm sure that all of that stuff could be appreciated by a group of executives that go, oh my God, here's someone who didn't just write something. They actually took the time to think about their audience, to think about the world, to think about the tone, right? And I think all of that is a positive. And then at the same time, it's just knowing that ultimately in that space, you have to just go through more people coming
Right.
together and agreeing with each other before you get to the next stage.
And we have here another question from Andrea, and we touched through this, but we can go back very quick. Amazing energy. And well, let's say that we follow your advice and write the script with the marketing already in mind. I wonder what is the best way to contact those brands and have them help sponsor fund the budget of the movie.
So I think you can definitely do that if you wanted to. A lot of movies do that. And then I think the question becomes, how do you pitch what you're going to do for them, right? So what are your guarantees for them? And I think that it depends on what your movie is, right? What's possible or what you can guarantee or what you could do. There's obviously product placement, but for product placement on a very small movie, what can sometimes be hard is that you don't know where the movie is going to come out, right? On the other hand, though, there's so many brands. So like you could start with much smaller brands, which is kind of what we did, and then kind of leverage that to work your way up to bigger brands, right? Because if you think about pitching, let's say yourself to like a Don Julio tequila, right? It might be like right off the bat, well, why would we sponsor anything with this small movie when we're sponsoring the Four Seasons or whatever, But it's like if you go to like a new startup brand that has some like seed money that's really trying to like get the word out on their new tequila, and they're really excited about it, and they just started marketing and they're doing activations, and they might be a perfect fit for a brand that goes, oh my God, this is a really cool movie. I love this. I'd love to be a part of it. How can we help? And then maybe they come in and they help.
I have three more questions that I think we have a chance to answer, and I will finish with a fun one. So we have another question that says, maybe I missed it, but I'm a disabled Latino screenwriter, video editor. How do you even get in the room to pitch?
Okay, so say that again.
How do you get in the room to pitch? How do you even get in the room to pitch?
As a TV writer.
Like, yeah, screenwriter, yeah, video editor.
Okay, so as a TV writer, to get in the room to pitch, yeah, I mean, that is, I think, one of the toughest things in terms of because a lot of people won't read stuff unless it comes from management, right?
Mhm.
But again, I think to me, first of all, I don't have an agent, by the way. So I've done all of this without an agent. I have a manager, but it's just something that I think is important for people to know because
Mhm.
people like so yes, there's the reality that pitching a TV show would probably be, oh, someone said beast mode. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. No, but I feel like there is a reality that an agent might help you get in the room to pitch, right? To some of the bigger companies. Now, at the same time, though, I think it's also important to acknowledge that most most big agents are pitching their big clients, right? Like I have a lot of friends who have big agents and they're paying attention to their big clients. Then there's the smaller agents, right? And they're not being it's like it's not that easy for them either to get the pitch across to the big person. So
Mhm.
to me, what that means is what can you do to stand out that isn't about someone else giving you permission? Because if you're waiting for someone to open the door, then you might wait a really long time because you don't know what it looks like for someone to open the door, when they're going to open it, who's going to open it. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
what can you do that's like regardless of all of that? And
yeah,
so, let's say, for example, you do have a really great idea for a TV show. Like, is there a version of shooting something yourself, making a really great edit, and since you said you're a video editor, right? And then putting it up online
mm,
or putting it in festivals, or is there a way to make noise that isn't you waiting for someone to give you the permission, but it's you just doing it anyway, so that then by the time you do have that agent, you also have this proof
yeah.
of why you're valuable and someone should pay attention to you. Um, I
And
don't
I, yeah, I think that we can find that on the book as well. I think that's exactly what it is, and being the train. I love that. And then we have this question. I'm executive at an indie animation studio. We have a slate of anime films currently in development and would love to partner with Attend, the 15 group, in our distribution. Is there a way to get connected to them?
Yeah, so I know for a fact that right now they're still in their building process. So they have not officially launched because we were the alpha test.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you can send Diana a message or whoever a message with kind of like what you're, and I can definitely send it to them. I've kind of been told because they're getting like such an influx right now and they're not ready yet because they haven't actually launched.
Mhm.
So kind of what they've said to me is like, Selena, like we haven't officially launched yet. So please, like we're not ready to kind of like receive everything. But if something feels like it could be interesting, like send it our way so that when we are ready, we can reach out and we can start having those conversations because we are trying to um figure out what that when that step comes, we want to have those conversations. We're just not having them yet.
And this one is really fun from Cliff. Speaking of too many cooks, how did you survive co-creating with your husband without turning the project for each other into a more murder docuseries? It's hard enough aligning vision solo, let alone with your life partner. What were some of the we need a safe word moments, and how do you work through them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, definitely watch on YouTube the Skin Deep Selina Ringel Dan Levy
I'm
episode
gonna go watch it after this.
because you will see. No,
Uh,
we
it-
definitely had some really hard moments. I mean, the thing is, I always say this to people. It's like it's the best and the worst. Like we get to win an award together. We get to pick it up together. We get to go to Cannes together. We get to like it's incredible. And then at the same time, we also like never stop working. We're both workaholics. We have two kids. We talk about work all the time, except for when we're with them. And if we don't agree with each other, it's like a never ending, like, we have to really take space. There was a moment like with the movie, for example, where like he did like a first pass at the edit and I was like so mad at him because I felt like the point of view of the movie was from the male perspective. And I thought it should have been a female perspective movie. And it was like so, but then at the same time, it was also like, I think looking back, what what makes it good is that we were able to land in the middle and have the conversation and be like there should be both, like actually both matter, and like there should be moments where we're more with her and moments where we're more with him, and but um no, it's not easy, and I have a 1-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son, so it's definitely very intense over here.
I'm gonna go watch that. This is incredible. Let's see. Well, we have actually time for one more question. Do I? Um, and yeah, this is very practical. When contacting someone to use a brand in a movie, what person are you contacting? Someone in marketing, the owner of the company? Where are
Yeah,
those
so
cold emails sent to?
Yeah, so first of all, definitely read my book because I have a whole chapter on cold emails. But I would say it really depends on what the brand is. So for example, if you're looking at a smaller brand, it might be worth it to contact the owner of the brand. If you're looking at a bigger brand, it might be worth it to contact the person in marketing. If there's so many different ways to go about it. And I think ultimately what you need to ask yourself is how do I bring value to someone else? And
Mm-hmm.
how do I associate myself in a way that doesn't make me feel like a stranger or like someone who needs a favor, right? Like it's so hard for someone to say yes to doing a favor for a stranger. But
Mm-hmm.
but to do something because it adds value to you and feels like a win to you,
Mm-hmm.
then that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think a lot of it is positioning and figuring out. And even by the way, I do this all the time. Like research everybody. Like look people up on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, figure out if you have friends in common. It makes such a difference. If I'm like, hey, Diana, like super random, we met through Susanna one time at this party at the Astor, wanted to blah, blah, all of a sudden it's like, Diana might not even remember that she met me through Susanna. But if she actually has a friend, Susanna, do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like we actually
No,
say, oh my God, like, yeah, we have this friend in common. This is not a total stranger. And that helps a lot too.
yeah, reaching out to your friends always helps.
Yeah.
Great. And yeah, we have a comment here that is really funny that says, yeah, tips on how do you do this while having a baby. You need a book on that.
I know, right?
Yeah, that is the next book coming up with kids.
With kids, I know. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you need a village there in the comments. And
Yeah.
yes, that's the point. You need a village. You need to be the train. I think this is what I get from this conversation. It is that don't stop. There's nothing that can stop you. You have a great project. You gotta keep moving it forward, regardless. Even if it looks that it's hard, it is hard. All these things are hard to achieve, to get, and the opportunities and so forth. But it's just a matter of just doing it. And I think that's what I really value of the work that you've done, that you just go for it. And I think that's what we learned from you, that we feel very proud on the achievements that you have made because you just go and get it. And I think that's something that it gotta be learned from others. Also, I mean, with the book, Be the Train. I'm making the ad here, but it is not that. It is just that we need to use the resources that we have out there. We have to make use of our friends that we have out there. Someone says here, Rosa says, we need a village. Yeah, we got a village. We have it.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that we are all on it, supporting each other and being the train.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
also, like, don't be afraid to ask. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned is just to like, you already have your no. You have it when you didn't ask. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and again, it's like you have to position it in a way where it would feel good for someone else to say yes, but why not ask? There's so many things that I feel like I've gotten in my life just because I asked, because I thought, you know what? I'm just going to try anyway, even if it, even if this person doesn't respond, even if this person doesn't, because exactly, if there's no way for it to turn into a yes unless you do it. And so I think that, yeah, but thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you're saying. And
Thank
also,
you.
this community is so incredible. You guys have such a great community here with Nalip. It makes a really big difference.
It makes a difference. And how do we watch your movie? Where do we find it? How can we?
Yes, so perfect timing. So first of all, my movie's already out on Apple TV right now. So if you guys want to go watch it tonight, you can. But it is also out tomorrow on Amazon, Fandango at Home, Google Play, everything else. And then in August, it'll be out on Stars. But if you guys watch it, like follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, like I'll answer, like tell me what you think. Like I'm genuinely curious. It's based on a personal story. So we can talk about that once you see it. But I really, yeah, and also we released today a case study on Substack because we actually won a marketing grant with distribution advocates. And so we released a whole case study on how we did everything and what worked and what didn't work. And I think to me, like one of my biggest purposes in life is to be really transparent with other filmmakers because I don't believe no one's taking up my spot. Like we're not in competition. Like we all need to help each other out. We need to support each other. We need to raise each other up. And when we win, we all win. Like it's a win for everybody. So I am a really big believer in that. And I really, value like honesty and kind of telling other people along the way what's working, what's not, what I'm learning, like and hopefully helping other people, get inspired with what they're doing too.
Absolutely. Your success is our success. And I'm very, very happy about this conversation. Thank you so much for this opportunity, sharing, and being so open about this process and the ideas that we're taking tonight. And for all the members here, thank you for being here. And we'll see you next time. And again, if you want to become a member of NALIP, join the family. You can also have office hours one-on-one with our team. But if not, come join us and then find this Zoom webinar also on YouTube. So thank you very much. Have everybody a good night and go watch You, Me, and Her.
Yay!
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye bye, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Gracias, Diana. Bye, everyone.